So Tarflower is a shrub in the scrub with hairy stems, and its seeds are contained in capsules, and you can see both of these things any time of the year, even when it's not blooming. It is blooming very soon though. It blooms in May and I'm excited. It has fragrant white showy flowers, and it also has sticky buds and fruit and outer petals that often trap many insects. So here's a little bit about what we know about tarflower stickiness. So it is as strong as commercial insect trapping glue, and the petals are also only sticky on the outside so that it doesn't trap its pollinators when they land on the flower to get at the nectar and pollen. So I have a question for you guys. So why do you think tarflower is sticky? You can answer in the chat, and I'd like to hear any of your ideas. It traps all sorts of insects. Good answers. Herbivores. Yeah. Yeah, so these are great answers. We actually don't really know why tarflower is sticky, but a lot of you hit on one of these, the biggest possibilities. It could keep animals from eating the flowers. That's called florivory, an animal that eats flowers. And that is actually pretty tough to test because it's hard to take off the stickiness without damaging the flower, and that would be the best way to test this hypothesis. Yeah, so it could be to protect the flowers from the harsh weather in the Florida scrub. That's one possibility. Somebody brought up carnivory. That is something that researchers have also looked at, or at least speculated about, since there hasn't been much research on it. There isn't a ton of evidence for this, but it could be happening to a small extent. Since the petals fall pretty quickly, it's unlikely that that's the main reason that the stickiness is there. Yeah, someone mentioned that the predator of the pollinators can't get to them. That's a really good answer that I'll talk about a little later too. So one other reason is that it could keep animals from stealing nectar or pollen, and that you could test if you could cover up the stickiness. And that is actually what my experiment is on for my intern project. I will be covering up the stickiness at the base of the flower with sand, and this should allow crawling insects such as ants to crawl up the stem and onto the flower and get at the nectar and pollen that they wouldn't be able to access normally. And so the crawling insects having access to the flower could affect it in multiple ways. These insects could scare away the pollinators. They could also be predators of pollinators, like somebody mentioned. They could damage flower parts. There's a lot of animals that will eat flowers, petals, or other flower parts. They could drink a lot of nectar and leave little left for the pollinators. And all of these things could reduce the number of seeds that the plant can produce. So that's my project. I'm really to see what we find. And look out for tarflower this spring. Look for those hairy stems and the sticky petals and try and find some insects stuck to them. Thank you and happy flower hunting.